going, Lincoln?
Well, he's dazed.
Yeah. Now the sun's in there.
He was.
How you doing, Lincoln?
All right, you guys. Everybody good to go to get started? Yep, let's go. All right. That's why I like that can do. Pop open my Coors Light. That's a Diet Coke. Just for everybody. Thank you, the one person that laughed. I appreciate it.
You feel bad for you drinking Coors Light.
You want a Coors Light? Is that what you're saying? All right, we haven't started yet, so. All right, you guys. Very good. Thank you. We're live. Oh, we've been live? Okay. Great. All right, you guys. Thanks, everybody, for being here tonight. It's May 2nd, Monday, and we're having our first Town of Poolsville Commissioners meeting in May. Thanks to everybody for being here tonight. Appreciate the attendance, and I'm sure going to be some great feedback and a great meeting. Before we get started, I'd like to ask Jeff to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was probably your best one yet, Jeff. Thank you for that. Awesome. All right, so.
I'm going to let some people in that are for this first item we're talking about in our announcements.
Okay, going to let them into the Zoom right now.
Sorry. So get us pumped up.
That's okay, we'll get there.
Can you hear us okay? Okay.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. It's great to have you here. We are going to start off. We've got a great group that's joining us tonight, and we're going to do this right off the top so that we can get everybody involved to get as much time as they possibly want, and to give us as much information as they can, and we're really looking forward to your presentation. So, starting things off, and said normally we do the commissioner's comments. I wanted to ask the representatives, whoever's coming up for the Montgomery County Lynching Memorial Project presentation, to come on up. We've got 2 seats, and if you need more, then we can bring more chairs up too.
One of our presenters is on Zoom.
Is on Zoom. Okay, very good. Thank you for being here too. It saves us a seat. Anybody? Is this thing working?
Hi.
Let us know who you are.
Yeah, I'm Barbara Drazen. I'm representing the Montgomery County Lynching Memorial Project. And you want to introduce yourself now?
They know who I am. I'm Pastor Chuck Copeland from Hosanna Community Church in town.
And Pastor Chuck's been working with us since we did our event here a few years ago. And I was at a meeting with him several years ago as well. So first, thank you for having us here tonight, and thank you for being so accommodating and putting us first on the program. I live way down county, so I appreciate it. So first, I want to talk a little bit about the Montgomery County Lynching Memorial Project. I don't know if you all are familiar with our organization. We're a grassroots, all-volunteer organization. We came together in 2018. We were a group of Montgomery County citizens, all inspired by the work of the Equal Justice Initiative in Montgomery, Alabama. And we all decided we wanted to do something locally. We're now an official community remembrance partner of the Equal Justice Initiative. We work with them directly in Alabama. And we have a mission, which is to educate and engage the community about the history and legacy of lynching and racial terrorism in our county. And we started as a handful of people, and we've now grown to, we have an email list of several hundred people, all over the county. As you may or may not know, there were 3 known lynchings in Montgomery County. There probably were more, unfortunately, but there were 3 that have been documented. 2 were in Rockville, 1 was in Poolesville. So one of the things that community partners do, the EJI community partners, is have soil collection ceremonies at the lynching site, or as close to it as you can gather from historical evidence. And we have done we did one in Poolesville. Some of you may have been there, I hope so, in November 2019. We did soil collection ceremony for the 2 men who were lynched in Rockville this past September. That was delayed because of COVID, but we've done that. So just to give you a little bit of history about our connection to Poolesville, in, I think it was 2018, might have been 2019, I believe it was Amy Baker, I'm not sure, from Historic Medley, who contacted Tony Cohen, who's one of the founding members of MoCo Lamp, and he's a local historian. Many of you may know him. And I believe she asked him if he would speak about the Underground Railroad in Montgomery County. And Tony said, well, what if I spoke about the lynching in Poolesville instead? And I think a lot of people at that time had no idea there had been a lynching in Poolesville, Mr. George Peck in 1880. So the folks at Historic Medley said, great, why don't you give that talk? So Tony did give that talk at your old town hall here. That was February of 2019, and it was really well attended. We got a lot of great feedback, a lot of community interest. It was very impressive. People from Poolesville came out for it. So we decided we'd do our first soil collection, our first community remembers activity here in Poolesville, because we already had the connection through Historic Medley. So we had a community meeting with people in Poolesville. It was also at the Old Town Hall. That was September of 2019. And then Pastor Chuck and I actually came to a commissioners meeting that year. And then, as I said, we had a soil collection ceremony in November of 2019. We collected the soil in the field next to Jameson's, and now next to Locals Cafe, which is a great cafe. I've been there twice. And again, we were really impressed with the turnout of the community and the people from all over the county. So it was a great event, we thought, and we thought that the people of Poolesville appreciated it. So another activity that groups engage in who are involved with the Equal Justice Initiative is erecting a historical marker on the site of the lynching, or as close to it as possible. And that's the thing we would like to do next. And we feel, and EJI strongly feels, that the education and the community engagement leading up to the installation of the marker is actually the most important thing. The marker is representative of the sentiment of the community to acknowledge that this happened, but getting the community involved is what's really important, because people just don't know about it. And so we are hoping a year from now to have the marker in place. That's our hope. There's a big, and EJI will fabricate, they'll have the marker fabricated for us, they pay for it. And there's a big supply chain backup because of COVID. So we're hoping a year from now we can install it. And we're talking, we have a group, you probably know, we're working with about 10 folks from Poolesville on a committee talking about how to engage the community, where to put the marker, when to put up the marker. And we've had 2 Zoom meetings so far with the local people. And everyone said, let's get the commissioners in on this from the beginning. So it's pretty much the beginning. We haven't made any firm decisions at all yet. We wanted your feedback. We're hoping you'll be our partner in this. And we also have the full support of the co-owners of Locals. They have offered to do anything at all to help. They can't be on our committee. They're too busy. So we hope you feel this work is as important as we do. In terms of location, there's been talk in our local group of putting it by the John Poole House, which is already a historic area. So there's no real risk of it being sold and becoming something else. And it's adjacent to the lynching site. So it's not decided, but that's been kind of the strongest feeling for a location so far. Also, in terms of community engagement, ideas have been to have a table, both at, I guess it's called Heritage Days, Montgomery Heritage Days, and at Poolsville Day. That we'd have a table where we talk about what we're planning and have people come up and get our literature, which we only brought 2 flyers about our group. And these are programs from the soil ceremony collection that we had here, in case any of you would like to see this again, or for the first time, you can pick these up afterwards. So we'd like to have tables at these 2 events. And then a member of our group who's here tonight, Ruth Gaynor, has been involved in some community conversations at another location about another issue that was difficult for the community. And we're hoping to have some of those community conversations in October of this year. And Valerie Dickerson has offered to lead that initiative. And Pastor Chuck, Faye, and another student, Noah, have also said they would be involved in helping to lead those conversations, which would be great. And I guess that's pretty much it. I'm going to have Reverend Alexa Fraser speak in a minute. She's another person with the MoCo LAMP steering committee. But we would like to hear from you now or at any time in the future what your ideas are for community events, how we can get people involved, increase their understanding of what happened, and just, make it a positive community experience, even though they were horrific acts. So Pastor Chuck is going to say some personal things in just a minute, but if Reverend Alexa she'd like to say a few things right now.
Can't hear her.
Can't hear you.
Hello, hello?
There you go, you're coming in.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for moving us up to the top of the agenda. And I think that Barbara just did a good job of explaining us and what we're doing and kind of why we're doing it. I want to just add that while everybody there has given, a big welcome to this effort, the kids are the young people are so impressive. And it is a part of the MoCo LAMP concept that we have an essay contest each year, which public school kids are allowed to write and have judged a paper on racial justice issues as they want to, and money is given to them for college. And in fact, on our call tonight, I think, or at least planning, were a couple of the youth who were involved in the ceremony previously and continue their engagement with this effort. So I guess I just wanted to span the generations as we talk about it. And again, go back to Barbara with the questions she raised about what ways you see that would be helpful. Oh, I guess another thing that I'll just say is, as a minister, I tend to do faith outreach. So I have met with a number of the ministers in your town, and that continues to be a part of our work as well, where of course Pastor Chuck is very, very able to speak to that side of things.
So would you like to speak now, and then they can, do you want to ask questions now, or
What
do
do
you?
y'all want me to do?
And talk, and then I'm sure all the commissioners are going to have some
Somebody probably
questions
say, "Get it
too.
over with."
No. I could listen to you talk all night.
No, I'm thankful and grateful for to all you guys for giving us the time to come. It means a lot, especially to someone like me who is one of the few people that's going to sit in front of you and tell you I have people with my DNA in African American cemeteries up here in the Ag Reserve and in the traditional white cemeteries here in the Ag Reserve. I can go find the headstone. And I know that this area here, I've been here for 30 years. The property that I live on, I've been on for 145 years. My family's been on for 145 years. I'd be pretty old if I was on it for 145, right? But I say all that to say I have very strong ties in Martinsburg area, very strong ties in the Big Woods area. I have very strong ties in even Comus. And if you know the history here, the corner of Comus Road and Peachtree Road is called Thompson's Corner. Well, the man that bought that property on White Ferry Road that I live on 145 years ago, his name was Albert Thompson, and that's where he came from. I say all that to say this place hangs its hat on history, right, commissioners? Okay, so this is what I'm saying, okay? As a 30-year resident, I didn't grow up here, but I've been here for 30 years. I have a church in this town. I work security at the high school. And I say where I live, this is my dirt. It's very important to me that the young people that grow up in this town don't grow up with a false sense of history. Because Poolesville was a rough area. We all know it. A lot of people who have families that even own plantations up here are still here. And I don't want to make anybody feel bad. Listen, I feel like we have shown the whole county that we had the courage to stand out there and do a soil collection ceremony, and the newspapers came. We didn't want all that. We wanted to keep it as quiet as possible and do it right here in the town because we didn't want to have a bad light shining on this town. Because what we've explained to people that feel like, oh, we don't want to put that, we don't want to get a bad light put on Poolesville. Understand this. If you research the phenomenon of this whole lynching thing, you understand that it was pervasive all over this country, everywhere, in the North and the South. And this is the South. So my part of this is to just, I believe in reconciliation. My Bible tells me that as a Christian, we all have the ministry of reconciliation. And I teach that is taking that which is broken and putting it back together again. And I told them at that Black Lives Matter march, we get to decide what kind of town this is going to be from this point forward. And I say that to all of you, commissioners. I'm not on the commission, right? Because I talk too much, and I'm a little rough around the edges. That's why they put Valerie with me for this community thing. She's going to be my handler, Ed. But no, we really do want to reach out to the community because I understand it's a sensitive issue and there's sensitive feelings. I understand. And this is also another thing that I want to say. Just because we don't talk about it doesn't mean it didn't happen. Now, I have an uncle that helped integrate that school over there. Okay, I know some of the stories. I know some of the names. I'm not here to do that. This is about reconciliation, about bringing this town together. Okay, we can say, that looked bad. That was a bad deal right back then, right? We can say that. Don't know if George Peck did what they say he did or not, but we do know that he did not get his due justice. And so, if we can come and just come together, we did the soil ceremony, which was amazing. It was amazing. And my end goal for our community is that it will bring us together, that it will allow us to embrace, yeah, that happened in the past, but look at where we are now. Take a walk around over there at Locals on Sunday and Saturday and watch how people are going back and forth. Go out here to Wayland Commons and see when we have the Spring Fest, all of the diversity of this community and how we're coming together. Okay, that's what's happening on the ground. All that stuff that's going on the Facebook page, and y'all know what I'm talking about, is just, you know, a telephone terrorists. Okay? People on there hitting their, I'm talking about what happens on the ground with real live people looking each other in the eye, having conversations. That's community. Okay? We don't all have to have the same opinion. We don't all have to vote for the same person. But we do live here, and we look at each other every day, walking in the CVS and Dollar General, because we don't have a grocery store, for anyone out there that's listening. But I really feel like this is something that'll bring us together. And Valerie and I talked and said, you know, we don't want people, we understand people have a lot of questions. People don't understand what it is. People have fears, and it's real. And what we want to do with the community conversations, I thought was an amazing idea, is give people an opportunity to come out and understand what it is we want to do. We don't want to, nobody wants to point the finger. I've been living in Poolesville for 30 years. I'm wearing a Poolesville High School t-shirt because I work there. I have had 3 kids graduate from me. All right? I love this town. And I don't want to put a bad light on my town. I want people to be able to look up here and say, you know what? Man, it was rough up there at one time, but it's not like that now. I think that would be good for everybody, you know? What is the old saying? A high tide raises all ships, right? Poolesville Area Chamber of Commerce. This paints a great light on our town, from my perspective, you know, and y'all know I'm gonna give you my perspective. But my overall true, I think I'm not gonna say my, because it don't have anything to do with me. Our true objective is to just shed light and then bring reconciliation, you know, taking that which was broken and putting it back together again. There's still hurt feelings about slavery around here, you know. A lot of plantations around here. Y'all know that. Y'all don't like to talk about it, but I can remind you. And when a black person who has roots in this area rides around and they look around at these fields, man, how beautiful was that? And then me, at 55 years old, in the back of my mind, I think, I wonder how many of my folks was out there back in the day, you know? And so for us to look at that and say, okay, that was that, but let's remember that and move on and look at all of the history that we have here in this ag reserve. There's so much that's hidden. I mean, there's so many cemeteries that are in the woods that we're still trying to get on. Lincoln tell you, we're trying to get unearthed now. You know, to me, it's all about the history. And like I said, it's about really showing, really, if you ask me, showing Montgomery County that this area is a jewel that they keep trying to forget, but we won't let them do it. We did it before Rockville. We had a soil ceremony for a lynching memorial in Poolesville before Rockville did. That's big stuff, right? And so I just feel like, you know, speaking personally, and I'm gonna shut up now. Golly, man, y'all didn't come here for a sermon. I just, you know, the last thing I would like to say is just, I feel like, you know, I have 4 grandchildren now. I have 3 daughters that graduated from high school. And one of my kids from the school is here now, and it's extremely important to me for us to pass on a real account of what happened, so that they can understand how, like my white friends, if I'm a kid, can understand why I feel the way I do about certain things, you know, and understand, you know, empathize with, you know, why you know, and why things were the way they were, and then see, you know, we can as friends come together and say, man, but there's nothing like that now. Look how awesome this is. You know, we can remember how that was, but it's not like that now. And what it will do is it'll help us in this area raise a group of kids that are going to be able to be more inclusive in their thinking. That's what I want. I want folks to be more inclusive in their thinking. You don't have to be conservative or liberal, just be more inclusive, because Jesus said love your neighbor. You don't get to choose who your neighbor is. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
It's
Chuck.
impossible to follow, Chuck, but if I could just say one more sentence. As you know, there are 3 known lynchings in Montgomery County, and 2 of them were in Rockville. The soil ceremony and the likely placement of the commemorative marker for Rockville is within a block and a half of my house. So I know what it's like to feel like addressing this is kind of personal. And I think it is, as Chuck said, the time to be bold about doing that.
Thank you, Alexa. Yeah. When we did the soil ceremony in Rockville, we dropped our stuff off at Alexa's house and walked right across the street. So it was truly almost in her backyard. And speaking of Rockville, the County Remembrance and Reconciliation Commission, Montgomery County Commission, is currently working on erecting historical markers in Rockville, the 2 gentlemen who were next door. So we may beat them again in Poolsville. That's also happening simultaneously, but that's the county government. It's probably going to happen a little slower there. But, and this is happening all over the state of Maryland, and Chuck alluded to all over the country. So it's not just Poolsville, it's part of a national effort, and we think it's really important, and we think we do.
So I'll start. Thanks for being here. And yeah, I mean, I don't think I speak for myself. You don't have to sell me on it. I think it sounds like a great idea. It sounds like, you know, everything you said makes total sense to me, and it sounds very reasonable. And I'm just curious about the whatever you're gonna put, like a plaque or whatever. Is it like a standardized thing? So if you went to Rockville or wherever, like they're all kind of the same look to them?
So, good question. It has 2 sides. One side will be the story of Mr. George Peck. The other side will be about lynchings nationally, and EJI provides that text. In fact, we work with them on the text on both sides.
Great.
But it's the local story and it's the national story on the other side.
And you're thinking like the appropriate place to put it would be at HMD's, the old John Poole house there?
That's what the people from Historic Medley thought.
Seems like a good idea.
We've been over there, people from Local Lincoln over there. It makes sense to
Yeah.
us, but we're open to suggestions and.
Yeah,
Well,
we'd like for you guys to kind of decide.
I think that's a great idea, and you know, you were asking about like having a ceremony and like, you know, like how we can get the community involved. Like, just off the top of my head, my initial suggestion would be like to have the HMD folks work with you know, Wade in the town. You know, maybe we could have something like integrated into like, you know, like an event, like a Friday in the Commons or something. Have a booth. I don't know, like or we could even have like a town thing at HMD at the John Poole house. Something. I mean, you know, it seems worthy of like an event. You know, it seems worthy of
Its own event.
Yeah, I think so personally. Yeah.
Can I jump in? I really like what Pastor Chuck said, and I agree that I made about 2.5 pages worth of notes. I was scribbling as quick as I could, and I very much agree that shining a bad light on Poolsville doesn't really move anyone forward. And as Pastor Chuck said, I think I agree. The concept of remembrance and reconciliation is certainly something you'll find a lot of support for here. I think Martin's suggestion about involving historic medley is probably the right people, because you know, they have the deep historic knowledge, and I think the John Poole house is at part of HMD, I suppose, right? The old town hall does seem like a good location. David at Locals and David and Sandy at Locals, of course, are wonderful people, and I'm sure they'll, you know, welcome any kind of event that would take place near the John Poole house. Thank you.
All right, thank you for coming. I really appreciate all of your remarks. And just on my drive up here, I was just reflecting on a conversation that I had when we used to do some things on Zoom called Community Conversation. And there were some folks who lived outside of the town of Poolesville, and I won't mention any names, but there was one person who had really strong feelings about what her experiences were like growing up in Poolesville. And so as I was driving in here today, I was reflecting on that. As a matter of fact, I was going to call Pastor Chuck after that and talk to him about it. And so your timeliness of your message, right, really resonates with the thinking I had on my way here. And so with that being said, in addition to the historic medley team, I think it would be great to look at some of the families who are on the outskirts of Poolesville to be invited to participate in the thinking, and because there's a lot of untold stories and there's a lot of unhealed wounds. And so this could be a step when we look at reconciliation, but I look at it as healing a hurting heart where feelings have harbored for a long time. And I would also recommend that looking at the students in the Black Student Union at Poolesville High School, including that group to
They're on board.
all right, so having them, and then giving them the opportunity to learn from the work, let them see what's going on, let them participate in where they can. And then when you look at events, what I would envision, if not this year, maybe next year, having something around Juneteenth. I think, we began to really look at how do you show that positive light, and how do you turn something that was negative into a learning experience to build something that's positive for future generations. So I support the work that you all are doing. If I could help you, feel free to reach out.
I just wanted to say thank you for that soil memorial event. I was able to attend, and it was quite a moving day and evening.
Can I make a comment?
I also, I remember people talking about the possibility of a marker even then. And I really like the idea of it possibly going over at the John Poole House. One of the projects that I really enjoyed that was happening before the pandemic was the Historic Medley was putting on a sort of a series of lectures. I don't know if the Lynching Memorial Project was ever involved in those, but it would be
Tony
neat.
Cohen did one.
Tony Cohen did one, but it would be neat to have that partnership continue. Yeah, those are wonderful.
Do you think it would be helpful to have someone come again and tell the story of the lynching, this one and the ones in Rockville?
Yeah.
Do it
Yes.
again.
Hello?
Hey, guys,
Hello?
I want to say, first of all, thanks so much for being here. And I could listen to Chuck talk every time for as long as you want to talk. You know that, Chuck.
Tell my wife.
No, I'm being serious. And I do want to say that, what I'd like to see out of this, first of all, I echo everything all the commissioners said. They've all come at different levels on this, which I think is fantastic and well-intentioned and from the heart. And my only contribution, because I can't repeat and I don't want to repeat all the good things and the positive direction they've given, is that I would love to see. So when we celebrated our 150th anniversary, which I think it's still up there, yeah, our 150th anniversary, we made a point, the commissioners that were around back then, to also celebrate what I call our version of the HBCUs, which is our Historic Black Communities and Unifiers. And I thought that I'd love to see that be as much of a part of this too. I know you can use it. Have that be as much of a part of the presentation as possible, because on our 150th, I can tell you the community and the elected officials that came to that, and we're all part of our 1 year long celebration, that was some of the most historical and well-intended and informational, and without, as I said, not necessarily shedding a bad light on Poolesville, but talking about, really our history. So if that can happen, and I know that we have all the resources available to help connect us with the leaders of the various communities, and to really make a point of having them participate and having that be part of the discussion. I'd love to have that because there's so much of an integral part of where Poolsville has been and where we came from. And I agree, the news isn't all good, but it is who we are. And I'd love to have the recognition and have that be part of it as well. So that's my only contribution in addition to what everybody else has said, which has been really well done. So that's where we are. And the commissioners, any other commentary? I opened up at rare times. I opened up to the audience. Does anybody want to contribute something? Yeah.
Maureen wants to speak.
Okay, Maureen's great. Maureen,
Hello.
go for it.
Hello. This is Maureen O'Connell. I'm the president of Historic Medley District. And I just want to, applaud everyone who spoke tonight, especially, Pastor Chuck, who explained so wonderfully what we're talking about right here. And, one of the considerations is, where is this memorial plaque going to be placed? And I think I told everybody involved in this committee that, HMD would be very pleased to have it put on, in front of the John Poole House, since this is kind of the historical landmark in Poolsville. But, we're open to other recommendations, but I just want to agree tonight with what everyone said tonight, and HMD stands behind everything.
Great, thanks, Maureen. Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else that's online that's hanging out there in the ethosphere wants to comment? Okay, anybody that's, I know that we've heard from behind the desk, and I open it up to the audience just briefly. Many people have come here for different reasons tonight.
I want to say one thing.
Yeah.
The event that we're planning in October, our committee, I think is going to probably, be a real, it'll be an enlightening event for people, event for people to come and ask a lot of questions. So I think that, moving into what we're going to do next year, the committee's going to do, I think that this will be a great introduction to what's happening. And to just kind of, as Chuck said, put a good feel out there for the entire event. I suggested and liked the idea of calling it a celebration of acknowledgement. And I'm hoping that's, where we're going to kind of go with that in October. And kind of just have like a question and answer circle where we just invite people to come. It'll probably be at locals. We've already talked to Dave and Sandy in that area at HMD about it. They're excited about it as well, where we can just really just answer questions from people and get people feeling okay about the whole process.
I love our leadership on this. Thank you for bringing it to us, and I'm sorry that we were, had to be part of this. It would have been better if no one had been lynched. But here we are, and we're going to make an educational situation out of it. So, thank you so much for coming in. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just curious, what would be the next step?
I would imagine the group is going to keep us informed as time goes on.
Okay.
I think that you.
Direct connections, we know.
Yes.
And yes.
Yeah, you're connected every which way. I can just tell by all the people that are on the line, and
Right.
obviously you have the right conduits in town, and we also, our town hall doors are always open, and we're as excited as we can be to have, more recognition and more understanding and more conversations. So,
So anytime you have suggestions, please send them to us. Wade now has my email address. You can send it through Abby, you can send it through Valerie, whatever. And we'll keep you apprised.
thank you for your
Decisions,
work on this, and thank you for your dedication to it, and we look forward to learning more and being part of it. So, and we look forward to the events that you have planned.
Thank you. Would you like us to sign this?
No, you're good. You're on the record. You're on YouTube. your digital signature is done.
I'll leave some of these here.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll definitely distribute and look at them. We appreciate it. Thank everybody online. Thank you so much for contributing. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah, very good.
Fully support this.
For taking the time. Okay, yeah. Don't let him leave yet.
Hey, Chuck, before you leave, because this portion, we typically do announcements.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to do on our announcements part of the agenda, there's two I was going to make. One announcement is this past weekend, Hosanna Community Church, they did correct me if I'm wrong, you had the Helping Hands?
Yeah, we work with Helping Hands.
Right, they were doing some work with Helping Hands. And so I want to acknowledge the work. Say it one more time.
Rebuilding together.
Rebuilding together. And so I want to acknowledge that, and also want to acknowledge Pastor Chuck as well as Pastor Joel over at the Poolsville Baptist Church. About 2 weeks ago, they had a really great Men of Poolsville breakfast. And so I talked about it last meeting that was happening, and then Jeff and I both attended that, and it was an awesome breakfast. A lot of men from Poolsville who showed up, and then we had a Poolsville Mr. Honeyman who had spoke. So just wanted to give those two announcements, one before he left.
Anybody, does anybody else have any announcements? Anybody else? That was great. Only Chuck can come in, take over a meeting, and then out the door. He's great. So thank you for squeezing that in and let us hear about Pastor Chuck. Before we go to the rest of it, thank you guys for attending and for being here tonight. Safe travels back home, okay? Thank you. And we look forward to more interactions. We appreciate it. Before we get into the rest of the announcements, I just want to make sure that everybody know, I didn't say it at the start of the meeting, and always, I'm like, if you don't put it on the script, I miss it, that all the commissioners are in attendance tonight, as well as Town Manager Wade Yost and Town Attorney Jay Gullo. And I don't believe anybody else is online that's part of our mission here. No? Okay, good. All right, thank you for letting me get that out. Carrie, do you have announcements? Nope. Nothing from Carrie. Martin?
I don't have any announcements tonight, thank you.
Great, thank you. Jeff, anything that doesn't fall under your purview under the committee reports?
I have several things. First, I want to congratulate Gabe and Amanda Scott for the grand opening of the Landmade Brewery. And there were quite a few people on hand at Landmade Brewery over on Jerusalem Road the other day for the Maryland Brewers Association. Helped with the ribbon cutting, and quite a number of elected officials were there, including Commission President Jim Brown, and everyone gave a nice, warm welcome to the opening of Landmade. And it is a beautiful, beautiful area. Also, I want to congratulate Claire Jones on the opening of Essen Studio, and congratulate Will Triplett on the opening of Crazy Running. That was held here in Waylands Commons. And I just want to echo the remarks from Commissioner Ed Reed on the Poolsville Men's Breakfast at the Poolsville Baptist Church. It was a week ago or so. Quite a good experience. I do have a few more things that I got from the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce, or rather the Cinco de Mayo Networking Group is being held at the Clarksburg Premium Outlets from 5 to 7, from 5 o'clock onwards on May the 4th, and the Poolsville Area Chamber of Commerce members are invited to participate with the Gaithersburg Germantown Chamber of Commerce. Also, the Poolsville Area Chamber of Commerce has routinely, I think it's the first Thursday of every month or so, on May the 5th, we call it Businesses Helping Businesses Grow, and it's going to be at the Potomac River Supply. That's where you see the kayaks on the building over there on Fisher Avenue at 8 o'clock in the morning. Also, on May the 14th, there's, well, maybe Martin was going to mention this, a 10-year comprehensive plan workshop to get public input. That's going to be at Wayland Commons from 10 a.m. until noon. Of course, the Spring Fest is coming up. That's May the 21st. The county executive debate is May the 22nd at Wayland Commons here at 6 o'clock. We have a Poolsville Area Chamber of Commerce for any members, a networking happy hour at Asian House of Poolsville over here at AHOP on May the 26th at 6 p.m. And then a couple things in June, which maybe I'll save until later. I also wanted to point out that on May the 5th, which is coming up here, Katie Longbreak, the executive director of WUMCO, is going to be talking more about the multi-services that has been, or WUMCO has been serving diversity of emergency assistance needs in Poolesville for more than 50 years. I believe someone already mentioned what's his gentleman's name? Kenny Scholes. On Poolesville Seniors on May the 19th at 7 o'clock for historic ag reserve properties. And this gentleman, I know I've done some of the walks with him along the C&O Canal. He is a fabulous wealth of knowledge. So if you get an opportunity for any of those events, please take advantage of that. Thank you, Jim.
All right, very good. So that wraps up our announcements, and now we roll right into committee reports. And Carrie, you want to lead us off with events?
You already did your announcements? You already did announcements, okay. So for May, we have, May 7th is the fishing tournament. And May 13th is the event that's going on from UPN, kind of a new event this year, mainly gauged towards teens and preteens, so that should be great. And that's Friday the 13th. And then Springfest is on May 21st.
Great.
Yep.
I love it
When we start stacking up the events like that, it starts to get fun. Martin, can you talk to us about the Planning Commission?
Yeah, we meet, I believe, on the 11th of this month, and, we're going to have a full agenda. It's my understanding we're going to hear from the Donegan folks, so the people that are going to try to develop that property. I think the Willards are going to be there, and there's probably going to be a couple other things. Just to reiterate what Jeff said, there's the visioning session on the 14th, and that is from 10 to noon, is that right? And you'll hear more about that coming up soon. I think we're going to probably plug that pretty hard and repeatedly. But that's all I have until after we meet in 2 weeks. Or a week from Wednesday.
Gotcha. No worries. Ed?
All right, for Sustainable Poolesville, a great committee, a lot of fun things happening right now. So one of them, we have a subcommittee that came out, and so that's going to be focusing on a campaign called Pick It Up Poolesville. And so they have a person who's going to help lead that subcommittee. Mrs. Reed will help lead that one. And so it's going to be really neat looking at how to really help folks look around their yards, look around the town, and you see something, helping to pick it up. But they'll take care of that piece. The other part with the Sustainable Poolesville Committee, they would like to, within that committee, they would like to expand the number that's there, and so they're going to come together, going to make some recommendations, move that forward. There's a couple of people who are interested in there, and since the Sustainable Poolesville Committee is not like the Planning Committee or the Board of Appeals, it's our own one that we've created, so some more will be coming with it, but I know there's some discussion looking to expand some of the members who will serve on that committee. So
That's awesome. Good. The more the merrier. And love to see the involvement, and I love to see the momentum. So thank you for that, Ed. I appreciate that. Jeff, Parks, Recreation, and Streets?
Right. So we had a meeting on April the 6th, and it got sidetracked, as maybe you're aware. So we're going to just rewind on our agenda again, and we're talking again about park permits, developing the crosswalk list, or maybe I should say prioritizing a crosswalk list, because the crosswalk list keeps getting larger and longer. And also the speed humps list keeps getting longer and longer as well. So all of these things need to be prioritized and just kind of figure out what's going to happen first or last. Thank you.
Great. Okay, that'll be a lively get together there. So looking forward to that one. Thank you for that. Fair access. As everybody knows, we just had the grand opening or the groundbreaking at Crossvines, and I have to admit that the whole idea of Crossvines predated the creation of fair access, but it doesn't mean it's something that we weren't fighting hard for. Several people here, Carrie included, testified for the money that was that came to us on that, and came to the whole idea behind it. So here we are. We did a groundbreaking there last week, which is just absolutely one of the greatest events in recent Poolsville times. Every single major elected official was there. Even the ones that aren't elected yet were there too. And we kicked off a place that is absolutely going to be a game changer for Poolsville. It's going to bring us people. It's going to bring us money. It's going to bring us business. It's going to bring us commerce. It's going to bring us business development. And all of that's going to take place without adding any residents. So those are just some major, major pluses for the town of Poolsville. We've been on a roll lately. As you guys know, we actually, it looks like June 6th is going to be the groundbreaking for what I'm calling the new Poolsville High School. So we'll get more details out as that gets more solidified. But that's a big one for fair access for all of us. Again, we're pushing still for wellness. We're pushing for the community center. The POR is in progress. That's something that is, we're just trying to make the cut so that if we can make the cut with this county level funding initiative, then that could put us in a great spot for the further investment from the county. And of course, we're never going to, people were reminding me this week that we can't forget about the pool and making sure that we're pushing to get a bubble on the pool. Every time I write something about something, what about the pool? Or still, what about the grocery store? I know that there too. That's not necessarily a fair access thing. It's more economic development. But anyway, we've got a lot of irons in the fire that are coming up. In addition to, we just had a very successful, in partnership with the town commissioners and the Chamber of Commerce, we had a great District 2 forum here the other night. I mean, that was a stark reminder of the differences between elected officials, and I thought it was well done. Link, great job moderating. Our next one coming up is for the county executive out there on the lawn. I'd love to come up with some like a catchy title like the battle for Poolsville or something, but we'll just leave it alone and let the politicians do that one up. That's coming up outside, and then we have one more for our at-large candidates, which will be held in June. Of course, that'll let me segue into Scott here in just a minute. So anyway, fair access on a roll. We have tons of stuff going on. We'll be posting a lot more. We're going to be asking for people to do things. And if, Jeff, you're waving your finger to ask what's going on with the White's Ferry, I will tell you that there are some discussions going on. That's the only way we can leave it. So what else did you have? You have a question for me?
Well, I just wanted to jump in on the crossfines because, we talk about it as a grape crush facility, but I mean, I'm telling you, it is, as Jim pointed out, it's going to be quite a monumental facility there. In addition to being a grape crush, which just sounds like, what's that comedian woman who was stomping on the grapes and, Lucille Ball, yeah. But yeah, to remember that. But on top of that,
I remember my great period.
but on top of the grape crush, on top of that, there's going to be, of course, it's an educational facility, and they're going to teach fermentation science, which I never quite heard it termed that way, but that kind of makes sense because it's not just beer, it's also spirits, it's also wine, it's also things like cheese and other things that require fermentation. And in addition to that, there's going to be a 250-seat restaurant. There's going to be a banquet hall, an indoor-outdoor cafe, and a separate wedding venue. And the artist renderings that they had there during the groundbreaking, I mean, it just looks spectacular. It is going to bring a lot of people up this way. I hope West Willard Road can handle it. Yeah. Thank you.
So Jeff, if I just like mention a subject, then you can give the background on it every time? That'll save all of us.
Pass my notes to you.
Okay, no, that's okay. You deliver them just fine. Okay, very good. Thanks everybody for your committee reports and your updates. I really appreciate it. And so we really had a great week and a half of several ribbon cuttings and dedications and groundbreaking. So an amazing time frame and more to come. All right, public comment. Is anybody in the queue online at all? No, we exhausted them all in the last go round. Got it. Okay, so I wanted to take a minute to, as part of our series of bringing the potential elected officials to Poolsville, the Fair Access Committee, of course, is interviewing and meeting with, and we're trying to figure out who is going to be our next advocacy, I would call it victim, where we put the full court press on them to do the best we can for the up county. And I know the commissioners are all on board with the work that we do, and we appreciate it. So tonight we started off over at Dunkin' Donuts, where we plied them full of coffee and tried to get him to talk, but he didn't have any problem with that, is our county, running for county council, the at-large position is Scott Goldberg. And Scott, come on up and introduce yourself and tell us about who you are and what's going on. And see how good you are remembering all the stuff we told you.
So I try and be helpful wherever I go, and I heard a marketing opportunity. For any boxing fans out there, the Thrilla in Manila, the Thrilla in Pools Villa.
Okay, thank you, Scott.
Okay.
It might well get used.
So my name is Scott Goldberg. I like to think neighbors have more to do with connections rather than mileage. So I am your neighbor from Silver Spring, and happy to be in Poolsville this evening at the invitation of Commissioner Brown. It is great to hear about the things and priorities, the needs and wants of Poolsville, and it had the added benefit that I don't have to put my kids to bed this evening. So very grateful for that. As Commissioner Brown said, I'm running for the council at large. I'm looking forward to this forum that's coming up. We like to call them fora and not debates because a lot of us are in agreement and we have much more in common than we diverge on, which is, I think, a very good thing for Montgomery County. And that's me in a nutshell. Again, I live in Silver Spring with my wife, 2 kids. I have a small residential property management company, and they let me practice a little bit of law every here and there. And have been a member of what's called the Montgomery County Democratic Party for about 5 years. So we, among other things, appoint people to fill vacancies that we send to Annapolis. So in the last 5 years, we've done that twice. So pretty important work, pretty thoughtful stuff, pretty important things.
Lee was one of your.
Does Linda Foley represents here?
She's one of our
Close by?
delegates. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, Linda Foley, my friend.
Yeah. Okay, I let the commissioners open it up, but give us some of your bona fides, Scott. Tell us why you're doing this.
Sure. So let me give you my worldview of public service, right? So the world has been good to me, and I've picked up a lot of skills and have taken advantage of a lot of things through little or no fault of my own. And I feel at this junction in my life, we all need to give back, and this is my opportunity to be of service to the place that has given so much to me. That being said, some things that I particularly care about are economic opportunities for all. So if you're making $15 an hour or $50,000 a month, I think there needs to be something that you can graduate into. That, quite frankly, that's what keeps me up at night, people that are having trouble paying their bills, and that's what I'd want to focus on if fortunate and humbled enough to be elected as your representative in the council.
Questions from the council members?
Well, I was gonna ask, why did you jump into the race? And also, you're from Silver Spring, so I don't know what district that is, county council district that is. Is it 2?
No, it's not us.
It's not.
It's a district that's
Yeah,
right now run-
just maybe the curiosity.
Sure, so currently it's 5, but it's changing to 4 when they add the 2 new districts.
Okay. Yeah, because we're now in District 2, or we will be.
the new district.
We will be, yeah.
Right. Yep. Great.
Yeah, old District 1,
That's right.
new District 2.
Yeah.
Well, we're happy to have you come tonight, and we appreciate you meeting with Link and I ahead of time. And, we said we're going to be, if you are elected to serve as an at-large council member, you're going to be our council member. And we're going to have a lot of work that we need to be done, and we're going to be requiring you to really step up to the plate for us, and it sounds like you're up for it.
Absolutely. I mean, great to hear about the bubble on the pool, the grocery store, Bassett's, the ferry. I mean, all the things that are important that affect the everyday lives of the people of Poolsville.
Just,
Great.
how would you prioritize the list that Mr. Goldberg just mentioned? I'd probably put either the pool or, not the pool, the high school or the ferry at the top.
It's a good question, Jeff, and I don't want to belabor everybody here in the room too much with this, but when we had our District 2 forum the other night,
Yep.
I basically, at the end of it, I felt like it was important to counsel the people that attended. I said, so what do you think is the most important thing that we have on our table today? And I want you to prioritize them. I want you to give me number one.
Me?
No, you can if you want to, but I already know what mine is.
Okay. Who are you asking? Well, who
Well,
you
that's what I
a-
say before, Scott can do it before he gets in, because
Okay.
it's not going to be mine. So what, Jeff, you tell us yours. It's open.
I think the ferry is number one for me.
Ferry's big. Scott, go ahead and give it to us, buddy. What do you think? You're on the spot. And, there's 10 YouTube listeners watching right now.
What are your choices? The ferry, the bubble, the the community center, or something else, the fourth one?
All good.
And
right?
I can add a fifth if I want to.
Go
right?
for it,
This isn't multiple choices.
Yeah, no, you can make something up, sure.
Right, so let me give you the political answer, right? So my first boss would always say you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, use them in that proportion, right? So I wouldn't purport to know more about where you live than you. So I'd, in representing you, happy to come up here. We're gonna go to locals, we're gonna have some beers, and we're gonna figure this out to hear your priorities. So that's the political answer. The honest answer is, you've lost a lot since the ferry closed, and I would want to work on obviously the transportation aspect, but making sure the businesses here still have the customers and the disposable income to survive, because I know a lot of them have lost that. I have a business that is 15 years old, residential property management, so that's something that I would want to focus on. And I always hear you like people coming here but not staying here. So growth is obviously an issue, right? But maintaining the ag reserve and the integrity of it. In some parts of the county, 85% of the county is basically developed, and I think that's sort of the trade-off: building more housing in certain parts of the county so we can protect the ag reserve, for our grandkids.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer. It wasn't my top one, but that's right up there. So, Ed, did you want to speculate before we?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What would your priority be to getting Poolsville a good Indian restaurant?
So we're going to go to my favorite Indian restaurant in Bethesda called Cat High on Norfolk Road. It's on a streetery, so in some places we closed off streets and basically made them public spaces. Well, that's what we're going to talk about there. We're going to talk to the owners and say, how can we get, and that's a big economic issue too. Businesses open in Montgomery County, and then they get jaded and they don't want to open a second location in the county, and they end up going a lot of times to Virginia or Frederick or Howard. But I'd want successful businesses to expand, including a delicious Indian restaurant.
Being a small business owner myself, there are some things that are a little bit cumbersome, the tax process and all. I'm sure you've heard about. I'm sure you're familiar with them.
What business?
I have a photography business.
Oh, awesome. So we can both look at it through that lens, pun intended.
Nobody tells more jokes than me, Scott.
Better though.
So no, they are. You're just not used to his. Does anybody other guesses on what our priority is, as far as I'm concerned? You're close. What it comes down to is doing every single thing you can to ensure that we continue with all the funding we need to get Poolsville High School built the way it's supposed to be built, including the enlarged gym.
The gym.
Yep, thank you. And then the wellness center and a community center associated with it. Those to me are, if you had to name 10 priorities, those are our top 6. And then it would cascade down through some other needs that we have to do, including economic development, which we could use help with. And in the end, some things to do with streetscape, of course, the pool bubble, et cetera. So, Scott, just, you get elected, these are going to be the things that we're going to be wanting right off the bat. And, you're going to have to do the best you can for us. And hopefully by November, we're even in more of a solid, or I guess through the primary, that we're in a better position for making sure that we have that funding truly locked down. So that's what we're going to be looking for.
Great, terrific.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else for Scott? All right, meet the candidates.
Thank you for hosting me this evening. I appreciate it.
Great seeing you. Thank you for coming up, and we look forward to great things out of you, man. All right, very good. Thank all the commissioners. Thanks for indulging us and letting us introduce Scott and have him be a part of our meeting tonight. That was a lot of fun. All right, approval of the minutes. So we have minutes from our meeting for April 18th, 2022. Anybody? Motion?
I'll motion.
Motion.
I motion that we approve the minutes
From April 18th,
from April
2022?
2022.
Thanks, Ed. Do we have a second?
Second, Jeff.
Second from Jeff. Are you, anybody reviewing? Thanks, guys. See you later. Any other questions on the minutes or want to have pause or talk about them?
Nope.
None? All those in favor of approving the minutes of April 18th, 2022, please say aye. Aye. Anybody else? Abstain from Carrie, who wasn't here for the meeting. Very good. Minutes are approved 4-0, one abstention. Great. All right. Under new business, or if you're looking at today's announcements, we have another section of public comment, so we've already exhausted that. I give everybody credit for trying to get as much public comment as possible. Under new business, we've had much discussions at Town Hall. This is part of like our cleanup here to continue to make sure our processes are lined up and that we're reflecting the needs of the community through our processes. Our next, one of the pieces that we wanted to tackle was our volunteer appointment policy. And as you know, there is, if you'll go down the line in your packet, you can see the result of some discussions that have taken place and some directions that we want to put in front of the commissioners. Wade, if you want to go from there.
Sure, so at the last meeting, after the last meeting, Jim and I had a discussion about there wasn't really a written policy. There's not a written policy as far as volunteers, are they going to be interviewed, are they not going to be interviewed? And it's changed 3 times at least since I've been here over the years with different presidents. So they said, well, let's come up with a written policy. So what you see before you, I've kind of separated out commissions or committees that are authorized or have powers, authority from a state versus just the town. And so the ones just the town, be the fair access, the whole list of them on the backside, a form that I made up, Parks and Streets, Ethics Commission, Sustainable Poolsville. Those just being in-house type of committees and run by the rules that we have engaged with them, or they have engaged themselves with their own charters that they've provided going through the process. So those right there, this kind of lays out that applications will be coming in. There's actually a form that's going to be filled out online. It's going to be fillable online, as well as in person if they want to come in and fill it out. And then that'll come to the board, and the board can make a decision without having to interview them. Anybody that goes for the Planning Commission or the Board of Zoning Appeals, they have different rules to go by. That will be an interview process in itself, because you want to make sure you have people in there that are qualified and they have to be go through the certification process and other things. So a little bit of different program for those 2 boards versus the other ones. So this is what's in front of you today is how it's going to be appointed. The terms of service vary with various boards, and then the reappointments also, which we do every year. This is like a policy, or the way we've done it each year, the procedure, as far as sending out a notice, let people know your term's about to expire. If you want to continue, then you must fill out the form, which they didn't have the form to fill out before, but have a slight process for those people to go ahead and that it still comes before this board here, and you guys make the appointments.
So I have a couple questions or comments. First of all, I like the fact that you don't automatically get re-upped. You have to apply. I think that makes sense, because then if we're unhappy with somebody's job or whatever, we can just simply say no thank you. And I think that's important. I don't think that we should have some kind of lifetime appointment kind of thing. So thanks for that. I do have a question. The majority of these boards we're not going to have to interview for, which I think is fine. But is somebody vetting these people? I mean, there seems to me there should be some kind of a process, like the head of each board or something like that is just so we don't get some wingnut or something.
So we have talked about that, and some boards want to do it, and some boards may not want to do it. And so there's going to be a mixed bag of that. Definitely like Sustainable Poolsville. Dawn Street requested to see, we advertised that they have a position open. So we did it, and we had 3 people apply for it. And Dawn says, can I take a look at them? And can the committee take a look at it? And so it worked out well that way. If every board wants to, if the Parks Board wants to, we certainly can do that. And they can make a recommendation. The only danger in that is you may not want to go with their recommendation at some point, and it could be, but cross that bridge when we get there. It's hard enough to get volunteers to begin with.
Yeah. Well, it seems like from our perspective, we should at least recommend that there's some kind of vetting process. I don't know. I mean, I understand that it may not always be doable, but it just seems like it covers our if somebody, you get someone in there that doesn't want to help and only wants to sabotage or something. Who knows?
The plan is to counsel with those appoint those boards that are set up that way to have their leadership embrace it and the process. Of course, the commissioners are still going to see the applications too.
Yeah.
And in the end, we'll vote on them. We're just basically trying to pull away from the interview process for all of our various, the boards that aren't those.
That makes sense to me. I'm not trying to create work.
Understand.
I have a question, Wade. So let's say that someone from a board, let's say the head of a board wants to step down or resign. How does the head of the board get elected or appointed?
Well, that's within the board itself, so as the vice chair, if the chairman does step down, you can jump anytime you want, Jay.
Okay.
This is your ball field.
So we're going to call them internal and external, right? And the external are the Planning Commission and the Board of Zoning Appeals. They elect their own board members. So you don't pick a chairman, you pick members and they elect who they want. So that would be that. Your internal ones, you can set up how you want to do that. But right now, it is the board that picks among their members who they want to be the leader.
Okay.
And some of them might have a succession plan where there's a vice chair that becomes the chair type of thing.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
So we figured out that we could not ask our boards to regulate themselves without any type of a formal appointment policy and a time frame and paperwork. So we wanted to get those pieces in place, then we can work outward towards the, what you call it, external, internal, and work with the internal boards to be able to develop their leadership and their own vetting process. So. Any other comments on this from anybody? So we're under new business. Well, guess we can just wait till the next meeting and under old business establish, we're going to want to have a vote on it and have that this is our new policy, unless the people in the room tonight feel like that they can approve it tonight.
Yeah, I just thought of another thing. On reappointment, so this says that even existing members have to be agreed upon by the commissioners? It does? Oh. And then they have a term? Okay, so at the end of their term, they either can step down or get reapproved by the commissioners?
Right, so one of the things per visa, as we wrote in, is where the three of us were noodling this, was that, they're going to be alerted ahead of time, whether or not that their term is ending, and that they're going to have to reapply through the application process. And that when they reapply, that's going to be our tool to determine if they're going to be reappointed. Now, potentially, it's going to be a pro forma reappointment, but it may not be. But it will have in hand the documents, the time frame, and the notification that their term is up.
All right.
So that's the way I'm looking at it, at least. Go ahead, Carrie.
How does this get codified? Does this go into the charter?
Policy.
Where does it go? Policy book. Oh, the employee policy manual?
We have all policies.
Okay.
You have a place you want it to go?
I didn't realize we had something other than our code.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Amendments, yeah.
You would just adopt this, but there's like a policy manual on probably water cutoffs or something about like how do we actually follow them so that it's consistent, things like that.
Are those the types of things that we generally don't vote on?
You'd vote on this,
Oh.
but it wouldn't be codified in the book. It would just be an internal policy that could be changed by a vote of you all.
And you're right, not all policies are voted on by you.
Right.
I can think of a couple.
Yeah, I mean, what you're talking about doesn't sound like anything that would come before us.
Right.
Right, that wouldn't, but this is something that you guys vote on and you do, so this is your policy, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, some are just established, some are consensus, and some are voted.
Some are administrative.
Yeah, and some are administrative, so, yeah, no real home form besides in the policy book. Okay, guys, so we're going to let that ride till the next meeting. Look for that under old business. Appreciate all the commentary and discussion on it regarding it. Next up, speaking of codification, we have to talk about the assistant town manager job ordinance. Yeah, so go ahead, Jay or Wade.
We'll both take it. I'll start out. So we know that to hire assistant town manager, we need to create the position. And our code has, things from parking streets, town clerk, town manager, all in there. So the ordinance that's put together here, 221, is exactly that. It creates the position for the assistant manager.
And it follows what we do, generally what we do already. Right now, you have the major positions that are in there. They are non-charter positions. Some of them are charter positions, like the clerk, things like that, but this is not one. It's created in the code, and it's pretty straightforward.
So what you see is really what authority this individual has goes into the code. So I put a job description, started drafting it together, just so you know the difference is the duties and responsibilities versus authority. So there's two different things that go on here. Very similar, but one's more detailed, and the job description is actually living and will change over time.
Most important aspect of this is this individual is going to be reporting to the manager, but the hiring and firing happens by the commissioners. So it's different than like a rank and file employee.
Wade, did you, when you were deciding what responsibilities that this individual that you're proposing that he or she has, did you speak with, did you get any input from the HR company, or like is this mostly just you coming up with this?
No, we did speak with Tish
Great.
when we put this together.
Great. No, it looks good to me.
Really, it was more about segregation or breaking apart the duties and responsibilities, so it's not everybody still, yes, you're going to do it, you're just going to supervise. It's
Right.
breaking
I know
them apart a little bit.
the planning
Yes.
component, so that's,
Exactly what's
that's an important one. So,
Yes.
and it seems like the salary that we're talking about here is like, enough that we could get somebody with good planning experience. I mean, it's a legitimate salary in my mind. So, yeah, it looks good to me. Thanks.
Any other commissioner commentary on this? Basically, what we will be doing is at our next meeting under old business will be,
So, we want to go ahead and set a public hearing for the next.
I'm sorry, set a public hearing, right? It's an ordinance. So yes, we would be setting a public hearing, and what's our next available date would be?
The 16th.
Yep. So you guys, again, it's an ordinance, so this is something we're going to want to hear from the public on. And what I would need to do is get a motion to create a public hearing for May 16th.
I make a motion that we create a public hearing for May 16th for the Town of Poolsville Assistant Job Manager position.
Correct, yeah, ordinance 221.
Ordinance 221.
Yep. Okay, we have a motion from Martin, we have a second from Ed. Anybody else? Okay, all those in favor of approving the public hearing, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None?
And then as we go through this, we need to start thinking about the process. We talked about using the committee and all that stuff before, so that's part of our discussion of how we're going to, advertise and go through that process, so.
Why don't we make sure that's on the agenda for after the public hearing or the meeting after that? What's the right order here? Jay?
Maybe after you adopt it. So it would not be the public hearing meeting, it would put you into June.
Okay.
So your June meeting.
Let's do that in our first June meeting so we can keep the ball moving forward on that. And right after the public hearing. Thank you for that, and thanks for the guidance, guys. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just curious, so maybe this is either to Jim or to Wade. So the job description here, so it sounds like we first have to have the public hearing, that's going to be on May the 16th. And let's assume everything goes fine there and it gets adopted.
Right, it won't be adopted, then it'll be adopted at the next meeting.
Oh, at the next meeting, okay. Right, and then we can work out the steps on hiring somebody. I was just curious as to when this would be publicized or put on the website or put in a monocle or something, the solicitation for applications.
As soon as we get,
You're talking about the hiring.
Yes.
So I would imagine if you vote on this June 6th, that after that, then you'd have your plan of how you want to do it and
Okay.
onboard somebody. So I would think it would be sometime after June 6th.
Yep, thank you.
And we'll be prepared to talk about it on June 6th.
Yeah.
Public hearing, first meeting, adoption, and more conversation next meeting. Okay, anybody else on that? Nope? Okay, good. Thank you, everybody, for stepping up to the plate there. All right. Next up, always a nice little bone of contention, our accessories structure ordinance. And I looked at this as, I thought this is an opportunity, but I'm sure some people aren't going to love it. But go ahead, sir.
No, so we should talk about this. This is something that's been going on since the early 90s, and it's always been a kind of a procedure or policy from, George probably speak to it, when they come in and sign building permits. So let's just take the 1/3 acre, you're allowed 250 square foot sheds. But you can't have a 200 square foot shed, you have to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals, you have to get a special exception and everything. So it's always been the practice that you could combine the two sheds and just have one accessory structure, because you can have two of them, and make it the 300 maximum square footage. So you're still not having the lot coverage change, impervious area change, nothing, you're still staying with the intent of, or the specifics of what, why it was written.
That's county.
No, this is us. This is us, yeah, yep. County, no, county, they wouldn't talk about the zoning and size of it, they speak about to the building of it. So what we've done here, this went to the planning commission, for 2 months, we talked about it, trying to get the wordsmith it to be correct, because it was kind of awkward to explain it in a code version. But you're able, so go ahead, Jay, you can pick up from there.
So what happens is, we talked about policy manuals before, and he said policy, so there was nothing in writing about this, so Wade leaves, and we had a case come in, and nobody knew that that was the policies. We sent them to the Board of Zoning Appeals. For years, we have been after the Board of Zoning Appeals to act like a more of a judicial body, and one of the requirements when you go to the BZA for a variance is you have to have show hardship. And so wanting a bigger building is not a hardship, and the BZA is like, we're not gonna pass this. And so then we said, well, this isn't right. If you drive through all the neighborhoods, these people have bigger buildings. They've just done it because of the old policy. Wade steps back into the picture, and we say, hey, that we should have this old policy. And it's like, it's different if it's like the last one, like a late check fee or stuff like. This is a zoning thing. You got to codify this in the zoning ordinance.
So this will be a notation that's going to go along with the use chart in the code. And, this was a good discussion at the planning commission, because Kevin Schramm said, well, who cares how many sheds you have? You could have 3 of them, 100 square foot each. And it was like, no, one shed looks much more aesthetically pleasing than having 3 sheds with 100 square feet in your backyard. So it was a whole discussion of it. It's more about aesthetics, but it doesn't change the intent or what the original square footage limitation on any lot was by doing this. It's the same thing with the garage. We've had several garages that, let's take the 1/3 acre again, 600 square foot. You would be able to use the 150 square foot of one shed to add to that garage, but that's all you get for accessory buildings. And, you see a lot of that in town also, and that's very aesthetically pleasing. It's not a bunch of different buildings on a lot. So that's exactly what this headed, just to make it easier for the residents, really.
So this is what we do, except nobody had it written down. So now it will be written down and codified. The process going forward, if you guys are good with it, you have typically in the past, the way we always operate was when you get this idea, it goes to the planning commission and they do all the legwork to figure it out. The state law requires a zoning ordinance to come before you and become in an ordinance form, then go to the planning commission to get a recommendation, then come back to you for a public hearing, and then you get to vote on it. So you already know that the planning commission is good with this because they worked on it, but it still needs to go to them. So my thought would be at the 11th meeting, next week, they would actually see this ordinance and say, yep, this is exactly what we said, we give the recommendation, and you could have your hearing. I don't know whether you could pull it off.
They did vote at the last meeting for recommendation to move forward with the change.
To move forward with it,
So
right.
I think you already have that.
So we do not have to. Don't have to have a consensus, then send it back down.
I don't think you do. But you're not going to be able to get your public hearing on this one by the 16th. Your last ordinance was just your courtesy, how you normally do. You usually have a public hearing on any ordinance you pass. But on a zoning ordinance, there are state law requirements, so you have to have a 2-week notice, which takes more than 2 weeks by the time you do it.
Sure.
So you probably won't be able to pull this off until June.
Right, so what you're asking is for us to set a public hearing for the first meeting in June.
That seems like that works for you.
That's perfect, yes. There's one other item in there also. We wanted to identify accessory building height. So that's really not identified exactly what that is in our code. They talk about building height, and that's the interior ceiling, or the highest interior living space of the dwelling. And so that doesn't apply to sheds in general, so we just want to clarify that. It's from the ground to the peak of the roof, period. So just to clarify it, because it's not written in the code, so. I just popped up several times over the years, might as well clean it up now while we're doing it.
Right.
Sure.
Hey guys, let me interrupt for a second. I got an 8:30 hard stop. I got to go do a family thing, so we're not going to vote on this tonight, right? I mean,
Just to set a public hearing.
June
Yeah.
6th would be the soonest you could do it.
Yep.
Any other conversation or comments on this? No? Okay, very good. So we need someone to make a motion that we set a public hearing for the public review of zoning, accessory zoning ordinance 2
So moved.
We have a motion from an outgoing Martin. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Carrie. All those in favor of setting that public hearing for that date, please say aye. Aye. Okay, very good.
June 6th.
June 6th, yes.
D-Day.
June 6th. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I'm sorry, can I ask a quick question?
Sure. Yeah, Carrie's got a question. Go
What
ahead,
else are we
Carrie.
talking about besides sheds?
So you're allowed two, so it could be a gazebo.
Okay.
I think what else? There's not much really. I mean,
I'm
mostly
curious.
it's sheds is the
What some
common
people
thing.
call
but-
garage too.
Pool building.
Yeah, pool buildings, yeah.
Yeah, it
Oh,
could be a pool
garage
building.
would be?
No, garage is defined as garage.
That's
I mean,
separate,
it's its
right?
own thing.
I thought it had the same requirements though, space-wise. I'm
It's,
trying to recall
I-
back from what
I-
happened to me.
Thing in the chart right here, and maximum floor area garage is spelled out, detached garage is
Right.
spelled out.
Okay,
separately.
got it.
Because the county has specifics about what a garage
That's right.
is.
Yeah,
Like a
it's a
cement
concrete
floor or
floor
something
and-
like that.
Right, yeah, that's right. I remember going through all this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, good. Appreciate it, Carrie. Good question. All right, very good. So that takes care of that. And wow, we just go zip right into the Old Methodist Church and the bid document process. Go ahead, sir.
Jim, Jay, and I, and John, we all worked on together, just trying to put a packet together. This is what it's gonna look like, moving forward. So we have a closed bid sale. It's how we did it in the past when we did the old town hall. So we put together the covenants in the back, and we talked, this might be too restrictive. I'm not for sure what you guys really want as far as being able to control that property going into the future. I mean, we said they need written express permission from the commissioners to remove graves, to change the exterior, to do major interior renovations. It's pretty controlling, so it's something you guys need to talk about, how much you want to control that piece of property and the uses. Whenever they come in with the bid, let's just go back to that first. The bid's gonna go out, they have to have a $5,000 deposit when they put the bid in, which is very typical. They have, also submit what they want to do with the proposed use for the property. I think you heard that when we had a slight discussion, it was in my notes. Put that down, so it's good. But that's the only thing really they're gonna need for the bid. And so they're gonna get this packet. We're not completely finished with the packet. First one, refusals written in here. And actually, Jay worked on some of this, and some of it came from, what we had done in the past, so it was one of that. So I think it's probably a lot of standard language in there. There's a plat in here, the new plat, there's a deed in here. You saw there was, it was 1953 is when the commissioners took it over. There's another deed too that is not legible at all, and it spells out the points from the big block by the fence to, it's written in cursive. I tried to read it, I couldn't. I love it, man. But we're still waiting on our plat to come from our surveyor. It's gonna outline, we have a generator over there, we have power lines buried in the ground, we have easements and all that stuff, as well as some storm drains. And so we have a draft of it right now, that John just sent me yesterday. So, once we get that together, we're ready to go out to bid on this. So the package is coming together.
So Commissioners, just before we get into the question and answer period on this thing, just I think it's easier if we look at it, and this is the way that we kind of put it together, was that the first page of this, the closed bid sale page, there's some real specifics in there that talk about just the bid process period. And I don't have any questions. I mean, I don't have any questions period, because we all work together to put it together. But this first page is, I think, not much to talk about. It covers us legally, and it talks about our direction. The Declaration of Covenants, we built in, it's page 2 of this. These evolved just through general discussion. So if you have commentary on this, this is what we're looking for, is your feedback. If you think that we're missing something, you want to add in, if you think it's too restrictive, open for discussion on how this reads and how you think this might affect the bid process. That's page 2. Page 3 is the right of first refusal, which I think was important for us, because it is a long-term building that we've held. We certainly, I'm sure all of us are hopeful and recognize that we're going to be lucky with whoever decides to take stewardship of it. But at the same time, it is one of our inventory pieces. It is one of our historical pieces. And we may never execute this right of first refusal, but we thought it was important to put it in there. So if you don't have any commentary, or you do, on page 1 or page
I do.
page 3, and you can, that's fine, then really the focus is probably a little more on page 2. But Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. I had a question on the page 1 on the condition. I remember, I believe it was Mr. Strong that made a report on the condition of the inside, and it was structurally that the handrail was missing and this kind of thing. Is that going to be part of the information that is provided to the buyer?
We do have a report from John, but a handrail is not structural.
Well, I was kind of using that as an example.
Right, so, yeah, structural is your walls and your foundation.
Right.
I think we're going to give them as part of the information we have on the graves, that's general, okay? There's a lot of pieces of that. The information on the graves, the information that we got from the engineer saying this is all the information we have. As if you were selling a house and you knew there were some defects.
Right. Yeah.
Here's all the stuff we have, we're not holding any of it back. And then it's up to them to do whatever tests they want or research it.
Thank you.
Are you?
I had a question about right of first
Okay.
refusal, but if you're on,
Go ahead.
okay. So I read through this earlier, and a kind of a weird condition came into my mind. Let's say someone purchases a property, and then for whatever reason, they don't want to keep it any longer, so they're kind of required to sell it back to the town. Now, let's say, I'm going to make up a fictitious example. Let's say the property's worth $100, and they say, we're going to sell it to you for $1 million. And the town, of course, says, well, it's not worth $1 million, so we refuse. And then they go to party number 2 and sell it to them for $100.
We would be party number 2. So they would list it or say, I want to sell it. And they would come up with a price.
Yeah.
$1 million.
Right.
And we would say, it's not worth $1 million, we're not buying it.
Right.
Then they can't go to party number 3 and say, I'll make it for $5,000. Because then we would have the right to buy it for $5,000. So we always have the right to match the price they're going to sell it for, whether it to be the first party or the third party.
Okay. So even if we refuse the $1 million and we learn about the opportunity to buy it for $5,000, we can jump in.
Right, because there would be a cloud on their title that they couldn't clear unless it was proven that we gave the notice that we didn't want it.
Oh, okay.
For the price that was agreed upon to sell it, not agreed upon to offer it.
Okay. Well, that clarifies my question. Thank you.
Yeah, that covenant is going to be a cloud on the title, and it's going to be restrictive.
And just to make it clear how the covenants work with this, let's say you had no covenants. This right of first refusal would still be on the title for us, okay, for the town. We're probably going to have a number of years. Like, you can't have it in perpetuity because we're a perpetuity. Right, because we last forever, so that doesn't usually work. It's got to be like a lifetime plus a grandchildren lifetime. It's beyond that. The covenants are separate. That means if somebody would take it and violate the covenants because they don't do what's in the deed that says that would come back to us automatically for no money. That's a reverter to us, meaning you didn't use it. And the best example we have is Whaling Commons. That was given to the town with covenants that we can't do commercial stuff, generally, like says that. If we decided to use commercial stuff, it reverts back to the other owner. Free, no money or anything like that.
Commissioners?
I just wanted to ask, so is the reason why you're recommending that we keep it restrictive is that's because of the grave site and the lines that we have there, the easement, is that?
More so just from the discussion that we had when we talked about
Okay.
putting it out for sale and what people said they wanted on it. So I just do it all in a basket.
We would definitely have protection for all of the easements that we talked about, because we're going to record them before we ever do this. They take it subject to that. We would definitely have protection because we will disclose the fact that there's graves and disclose the fact that we are not responsible for whether it's accurate or not. It's up to them to decide. And if they get in, I'll use the word trouble, down the road because they're messing with graves or something like that, it's not back on us. So we would always be protected. The covenants kind of go a step further than that. They're limiting them. So that's why Wade says this might be too restrictive, because you're trying to control what they do. Okay, and it doesn't really have much to do with protecting us, because we're going to have that no matter what, I guess, is said a different way.
That's why I said if we keep the focus on page 2, stay away from the mechanics of 1 and then 3. I think that's the commissioners have a feeling or opinion on that. That's the page where things matter. And we don't have to do this in this meeting, so we want you to review and be able to talk about it and potentially adopt at the next meeting. So if there's commentary that needs to be done via email ahead of time or changes, please get it over to us so that we can make these changes, talk about it at the next meeting, potentially declare it, adopt it, and then move forward with moving forward.
I just wanted to say that I'm happy with it. Thanks to everybody who worked on it.
Yes, I agree. I do remember our discussion. We did want to be prescriptive about how the building can be used and what can or cannot be changed on it.
Barry, go ahead, Ed.
No, I agree also. I know we've been talking about it for some time, and this captures the discussions that we've had and the things we were concerned about. So I'm good with it.
And it's still, again, we'll be putting that to our, now, we do a public hearing on this too? It's an ordinance.
No, this is going to be a bid.
Okay.
You'll have a public session where you accept the bids, like after they're open.
Understood. Is this something, if the commissioners need more review time, I get it, but is this something that we could adopt tonight, or do we want to give it another couple weeks?
No, we're not finished yet. I still got to get my plat in here with the easements and stuff approved and recorded.
Okay.
So we still have the steps we have to go through for.
Understood. So you guys review this as a draft. Please review. If you need changes, let's do it on email, and then we can keep town staff moving forward. We appreciate your diligence on this, all parties. All right, very good on that, sir. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, I wasn't on the agenda, but I had some time back, I'll just rewind it briefly, submitted for Poolsville to participate in the Maryland Municipal League Spotlight video. And then, somewhat surprisingly, but we were also happy about it, we were selected from the submissions. And the fellows came and did an interview with President Brown here in the meeting room. And now the second step is the gentleman has contacted me back and asked for a variety of items, historical photos and other materials that they want to include in the video. So I forwarded that quickly to Wade, and I think I copied everybody, so you should have maybe already seen it. So I'm going to need your help to assemble all that stuff. And you're welcome to send it back to them directly, or you can send it to me, I'll send it to them, whatever. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, yeah, staff sort of pulled some things up this morning. So,
Oh, wonderful,
yeah.
thank you so much, yes, thank you.
Is there a deadline on that at all, or?
They didn't mention it, no, but I don't want to be late, because it felt like we were in the, one of the first to be interviewed, so I think we're in a good position there in terms of timing. So I wouldn't want to then all of a sudden drag our heels, but, yeah, no real urgency, they didn't give us a deadline.
No, we'll definitely get it out this week for sure.
Yeah, oh, wonderful, thank you.
Okay, Jeff, thank you. All right, Wade, town manager's report, buddy. Yes, town manager's report. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm just.
Okay. I wanted to just mention the Streetscape Grant that we have from Congressman Trone's office. So Friday before last, started getting calls from their office wanting a couple more documents and stuff. So I was able to get a hold of the Chamber of Commerce, and they wrote a letter of recommendation for support for it. Got a hold of HMD. They also did the same thing for Streetscape. And then I found some old articles that Link had written when we had our 2018 public hearing on the Streetscape plan. So it's something there was an article that someone had interviewed you about it. So I put all that together, put it to them. We had to revise the budget Sunday night and into Monday. And then, so Monday I got a call. They said that, well, you guys are looking really good. I can't tell you exactly where you're placing, but you're down on this very, very short list. So this is like the first ever that we even got a question from them, so, yes. So I'm excited about that, but we'll see. It's a $4 million grant, so that'd be a good one.
Wow, that's awesome. Going to turn the curbs into gold.
Okay.
All right, good news. Thanks,
that's
Wade,
good.
for that. That's great news. That's potentially just as big as it gets.
John and I also had a meeting with WSSC, and, we've been talking to them about the condition of the line going out to Cattail and that pipeline and everything out there. They are actually have an engineering team right now. They're gonna be doing some, smoke testing, and then they follow that up with a TV televising the areas that see smoke coming up out of it, and they're gonna be doing some relining and some manhole repairs along the whole line. They do have an I&I condition in it, so this is great news for us too. They're gonna try to limit their I&I and do some work on it, which is. Yes, they probably have ARF money that they need to spend too, so, it's.
That's right, they got to spend their.
It's working out for
Well,
us.
that's right.
So it's good all the way
Wait, give the
around.
commissioners a little background, because I don't know if everybody understands how the relationship between WSSC and the town of Poolesville and our wastewater treatment plant.
Sure, I think it was like in 1989 or 88, there was an agreement made between WSSC and the town that they could have 20,000 gallons per day go to the wastewater treatment plant because they needed to get the septics out of the Jonesville, Jerusalem area because they were contaminating the wells. So a sewage line was built, and for 71 homes, I believe, was initial 190 gallons per home was what they were using for their calculation numbers. So they're about 17,000 gallons per day right now. So they're getting to their limit, and peak seasons when they have I&I, they go over that threshold of 20,000. So that's part of the conversation also.
See, guys, this is us. This is the Cattail community, Jonesville, too,
Yes.
and all out there. This is an agreement that the town has with WSSC that allows them to take what would normally be something that would either septic or they would have to process, and that would bring into our wastewater treatment plant as a part of a partnership for those communities.
It's
So,
the only thing outside of our jurisdiction that
that's
we
correct.
actually allow into our wastewater
Outside,
plant.
outside of our town limits, so.
There was 71 initially, and I think probably about 10 or 15 have been built since then, so.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's good stuff. I always like that, that's always such a weird thing for us, that's outside of our town limits, yet is part of our agreement to serve.
Let's see, Dan Savino called and scheduled a visit to bring about 40 global student ecology students to the wastewater treatment plant for a tour, as well as a solar array. That's something they used to do pre-COVID, once a year, so it's like people get back in the swing of doing those things. So Matt Haig is going to be giving them a tour of that later this month. And then I want to touch on St. Peter's Church again also. We've had a couple discussions with the church representatives regarding this sewer backup. Jay's actually taken the lead on it and working directly. They have one representative that's directly speaking to him. We did an investigation and spoke to them about it. They are compiling some of their information still, and they need to submit a claim to our insurance company so we can get our insurance company involved in it also. So the ball's in their court right now to move it forward. We've had all the discussions, and we're gonna help you, but here's the process. You want to jump in, Jay? You've been.
I mean, it's complicated. That's the whole problem, because there's multi-parties involved, and it's not simply just submitting an invoice to us and saying, here you go. So they understand that, and they've worked really hard with us to be patient about it. They've had some issues as well on their side, in the fact that not only did they have to fix things and replace things, but they had to deal with their people and their insurance company and their things. So it's taking longer than we all wanted, but it's certainly working out. I mean, this will work out eventually. It just needs to work out the right way. So.
And you guys, without wanting to say too much more about this than that, appreciate the due diligence on behalf of both you guys for recognizing the position of the town, and then having good faith negotiations to the point with the church where they are, I mean, we know that things are not settled yet, but that you're having the right type of discussions and acknowledgement of whatever level of responsibility we're acknowledging, so. Thank you for doing that, and we trust that you're going to continue to have the right spirited negotiations and get us to the final point here once everything gets lined up, paperwork-wise. So, thank you.
That's all I have. Any questions?
I have a quick question about the crosswalk lights. I know we're still in flux with getting the mechanism on this side of the road back up. Is there any way that we can connect the mechanism that exists, though, like basically connect the button that you press with the lights? Because they don't seem to be married. Because if you, like,
the dead side doesn't
it doesn't activate the lights presently.
I just said, I don't know, but I'll find out.
Okay. I don't know if that's something that can happen, but, yeah, it's odd. It's odd. Well, I think it's because of the repairs that are gonna be happening, but yeah. Yeah, that'd be great if it's possible to do it in the meantime.
I will, I'll find out. And we are having the poles made up for that, so it's in the process. So it will not fall down.
Else? Anybody else for the good of the order? Motion to adjourn? No, I can't make it, but you guys, go ahead. Motion to adjourn from Jeff. Second from Ed. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.